When we are managing a project, we also have to understand in what specific environment we are operating, because every environment demands different ways to manage the project. Let's first have a look on how we can describe a specific project environment and how we can manage projects within different environments and the way they deal with risk. The last element to consider is the way the environment evolves and how we can manage the knowledge. Let us begin by describing the project environment. Important elements to consider are the existing organization structure, the existing processes, the standing operating procedures, and other internal procedures. The organizational structure of the organization determines the power of the project manager. In a functional organization, the power is with the functional manager, and most of the time the projects are organized within the functional domain. Project managers have to deal with the functional management, and their power is very low. Matrix organizations define interfunctional teams, and the project leader has more power. Nevertheless, depending on the type of matrix, weak or strong, the power is shared between the functional and project manager. The stronger the matrix, the more power the project manager will have. The ideal organization for project management is the projectized organization, where all has been built around the projects, and the project management office manages all in a centralized way. In the projectized organization, the power of the project manager is very high to absolute. While the organizational structure and existing processes are very important, we have to differ between stable and unstable environments. In stable environments, the goals are typically well defined, and it is possible to identify the scope of the project up front, and we can expect little changes during the project execution. A waterfall approach may be applicable here, of course. Each project has to be evaluated separately, since even in a stable environment, an adaptive approach may be advisable for some projects. Unstable environments need a different approach to project management. Management may not have a clear view on the project goals, and when goals have been set, they can change quickly. In an unstable environment, the project team may prefer a more flexible or adaptive approach to project management, like agile. Projects in marketing, sales, research, and development are typically very dynamic, and an approach or an adaptive approach may be advisable. As a project manager, you will have to operate within the organizational environment, and you will have to understand the enterprise environmental factors, also called the EEFs, and the organizational process assets, or OPAs. It is important to know and understand the rules of communications, engagements, and other principles defined in the standing operational procedures, or SOPs, and the project management methodologies that have been implemented. The organizational policies and standards must be understood and followed by the project manager. The company or organization may also have specific guidelines on how to work on projects and how to evaluate the project work, reporting standards and procedures, and many other. As project manager, you should understand and apply these. The procedures and standards that an organization is using may feel like written in stone, but it is not true. Procedures and standards can be adjusted when needed based on actual experiences. Different organizations will have different ways to deal with and manage risk. All depends on the experience of the organization and what their risk profile is. It is also important to consider the link between the environment and risk, since each organization has a specific approach towards risk. The way organizations work with risk determines the structure of that organization, or organizations dealing with a lot of risks will have a structure available especially to manage the risk that may happen on their normal business or on their projects. Some organizations may be more risk sensitive, and total risk management plans are set up as part of the business as usual, while other organizations may hardly consider risks. Risk management is necessary, but it has to be proportional to the size of the risk that may occur during the project or operations. The way organizations deal with risk or accept risk can depend on their past experiences. One case I remember was a company that lost a lot of money on a construction project because they found an archaeological valuable site. The project was stopped to do the necessary research, but the damage they endured was so big that they lost a very large amount of money. When they were considering bidding on a project in the Czech Republic on a neighboring site, some remains from fallen soldiers were found. Although this would not be too big a problem, because their previous experience, they immediately cancelled the project. I am personally convinced that this may have been a rash and unfounded decision. It would have been possible to evaluate the situation and have a scan of the area before cancelling the project. It was clearly an emotional decision. In Flanders Field, or the area where the First World War raged, many things can still be found in the underground that have been covered and forgotten or just lost in time. Farmers working on the fields, road repairs and construction projects sometimes uncover unexploded ordnance, some even containing ypirite or chlorine gas, historically important artifacts, and even bodies of fallen soldiers. When an important project was planned in an area where battles were fought during the World War I, the local authorities decided to start with the archaeological study and preserve the necessary data, but also to identify the fallen soldiers and bring them to their final resting place. Some funerals were even done in presence of their descendants. In general, I found companies that were hardly doing risks or risk management, while others took risk management seriously. In many cases, people do not want to consider risks, probably because it makes them uncomfortable. Some sectors like aviation, aerospace, nuclear power sector, gas and oil, and many others do take risks seriously and have the necessary processes defined. Today we are living in an evolving environment, a learning environment, and we want to keep the knowledge available for the future. Each project provides new knowledge to the organization, and knowledge is of value. Knowledge is an important asset for the organization, and knowledge management, although not always taken seriously, is very important. The same is valid for you. What you learn here in this course or other courses and the experience you get doing real projects will be part of your knowledge portfolio that will be available for you whenever you need it. The organization has to keep that knowledge in the organization and make it available for other people working on projects. The knowledge has to be updated and managed properly. We must integrate the knowledge management and guarantee that the knowledge is available for future projects. If you are still not convinced that knowledge management is important and should be taken seriously, not only for the organization or company you work for, but also for yourself, just consider the following thought. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Once you have found a procedure that works, or new ways to deal with the work that increases success, you should make it available to everybody who may need it. Each company should have a platform where you can share the knowledge and that is available to all people who need it. That was all for this session. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next sessions. Thank you.